my gosh. Hey, that's amazing. Welcome to the Crazy Dre Podcast Show, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is main man, aka Crazy Crockett, aka Andre's Podcast. Folks, welcome back. It's Thursday afternoon. It's a late episode. Didn't air it Thursday morning or last night. Didn't even record it last night. Just decided to do it this morning. Had other things to do last night in the morning. Great place. I had a couple beers as Founders down on Granville Street or St. Chavez Street. But maybe that's why I didn't do the podcast. But I'm going to do a podcast about Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. Detroit's at home, 11-1, 5-1 at home against Green Bay, 9-3, and I think they're 4-1 out on the road. Big game, division game. Detroit is about 3.5 point favorites. The over/under is 51.5. Do I think they're going to get to 51.5? Maybe, just because it looks like Green Bay is hurting on the tight ends and their not the tight ends, their cornerbacks and D-backs, and a key linebacker. But going with the stats, I want to go here. It looks like Detroit is second in offense, 10th in defense. They run about fourth in the offense and running game on 154 yards. They're number 5th in the defense, 93 yards, but it's going to be a key opponent to slow down Aaron Jones. But Detroit has their assets. They have David Montgomery, and they have Jahmyr Gibbs. It looks like Jahmyr Gibbs got a little lucky about his TikTok a couple weeks ago. But their passing is 5th in the league, 240 yards. Their defense, they give up a lot of passing yards for Detroit. So 226.8, 25th in the league again. I think that Detroit will probably try to tighten things up a little bit. Maybe try to hold it's going to be important to keep Aaron Jones in check, because if you can't keep Aaron Jones in check, you're going to give the opportunity for Love to run out of the pocket, throw the ball out of the pocket, or even running himself. I do know that. I think that being the 25th in the passing defense, I do like our setup though. I do like Branch and a couple of the key players out there. I think we are hurting a little bit on the linebackers ever since Alexander got hurt for Detroit. But it's a division game. It's another Thursday game, which I find it interesting that this is a Thursday game. Again, back-to-back Thursday games for Green Bay and Detroit. Do I think that's fair? I think that's fair for Detroit fans. Yes, we get an opportunity to watch them again on Prime Time, Prime TV, or Amazon TV, whatever you want to watch it. But let's go over the key components for Green Bay. Green Bay is missing a linebacker by the name of Jordan Cooper. He's got 31 solid tackles, 2.5 sacks, forced fumble, 1. He kind of plays the key opponent for Green Bay. He had 8 total tackles, 5 solo, and 3 assists against Chicago Bears 2 weeks ago, I think. Last time they played against Detroit, he had 6 total tackles, 3 solos, and 3 assists. So he's everywhere. Even with Jacksonville, 9 total tackles, 4 solo, and 5 assists. So losing this guy is going to open up the field for the running game, I think, for Detroit. I think that Detroit will have an opportunity to throw to the tight ends more in the middle because of that reason. I think Laporta might have a big game for that. If you look at Green Bay stats, they're just almost as good as Detroit's. So Green Bay's got the third best offense, the 12th best defense. They are the fifth best running team in the league, so they run about 148 yards. They give up about 106 yards, and that's eighth in the league. They're passing. They're the eighth or ninth in the league, 234, and they're 17th in the defense, 217 yards. Let's put it this way: I think football teams are lucky that they don't have to deal with Dan Marino, Joe Montana's, uh, Jerry Rice, or even Sterling Sharp, Shannon Sharp. I mean Sterling Sharp of Green Bay Packers back in the '90s, because if you have a defense that gives up that many yards in the air, that says something. And remember, back in the day when you ran 100 yards per game, that was huge. But now teams are doing 140, 130. It's about average. This is nuts just to think about that. It just really is. But let's go back to the personal stats. So I think when I was looking at the stats for Green Bay's injuries, it seems as though the only person on the defense that they're really going to miss is Jaron Cooper. He's been on the field more. He has more tackles, more solo tackles, more uh, um, group tackles. He's got more. They're going to miss him. I do think that Green Bay will miss the wideout Romeo Dubs. So that's something that we may put our attention to Watkins. I think if he's still in, Watkins. But Detroit's going to be missing Taylor Decker, and here's something fun that I just found out. Taylor Decker went to Ohio State University, so that's cool that he's in the Midwest. He's playing for Detroit. I'm sure he'd be happy if he was playing. If he's from Ohio area, he would rather play for Cleveland. But Detroit's a nice place. We just signed him this offseason for 4 years. He's 28 years. No, I think he's 28, 30 years old. But he's out. So I think Jared Goff's blind spot will have to keep an eye on that. But for Detroit, I've looked at their stats. DJ Reader, I thought he was going to be a more on guy, but he's hurt. He's out for the game as well. But I don't know if he's going to be, that guy that I thought that he could be. And then if I wanted to look at at FanDuel, and I think I'm only going to do, Detroit Lions right now. So I would go Detroit. I would pick Detroit 1.5 points, just because that game in itself could be a lot closer than what it should be. I think that Detroit will have an advantage at home with two running backs who are really good. Can Detroit keep Love in the pocket? That's going to be a question. Will Detroit want to be able to keep Aaron Jones? No, I'm sorry. It's Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is at Green Bay. So I made that whole mistake already. So Josh Jacobs in Green Bay. So that Josh Jacobs, I tell you what, he is. I was surprised by how great he is. I mean, how he came from Vegas and went to Green Bay, and he's like a little kid again. He's got a lot of energy. He's got a lot of pace going on. He's just. I mean, if I look at his stats, and I will, if I look at his stats. Let me go here. Stats. Josh Jacobs. Here we go. So Josh Jacobs has got 221 carries, 987 yards, third in the league. He's got 8 touchdowns, which is ninth in the league. and he averages about 4.5 yards. I mean, hats to you, young man. So he's really back. He's really back onto what I would consider probably one of his best years of his career. If you want to look at receiving, we got for Green Bay, we got uh, Jaden Reeds. He's got 44 receptions, 693 yards, 6 touchdowns, an average 15 yards a catch and a run. Um, Phenomenal kid. The last time he played against Detroit, he had 5 receptions, 6 total touches, 113 yards. Longest was 41 yards. So, I feel like Green Bay has a chance. Obviously, that they're one of our arch rivals, and they're in a division. Um, if I want to go to, I'm gonna just go to Detroit. I would okay. So going back to what I was saying, I would say about point and a half Detroit. I'll probably go 35 points over under just because I feel like this game won't be as exciting as it should be. I feel like both these teams will know each other pretty well. So I don't see how, even with the injuries, that they're not going to know somewhat of each other's playbooks. So I would go at least 35 points total. I would obviously I would go with you know you can either go with Montgomery or Gibbs scoring a touchdown or both. I feel like they both will score a touchdown. Um, you know, Laporta scored a touchdown last week against the Bears, and I think that Detroit will. I think Detroit. It's going to be tough to say that Montgomery's going to have 50 yards on the ground. I think I would put him down to 25 yards on the ground. I would put Gibbs for 50 yards on the ground. I would have either or both Gibbs and Montgomery scoring a touchdown. Now you got to remember, Montgomery starts the games all the time, which I kind of find interesting. That they start with a guy that's slower but tougher, and can run between the tackles. I would almost go with Gibbs first, just because he's faster, quicker around the corners, might be able to spread the offense. The defense of the Green Bay Packers is a lot better than Montgomery. Um, if you notice that with St. Brown, they haven't been able to throw the ball in the middle as much to St. Brown because most teams are figuring out when Detroit's a second down and long or third down and long or short. St. Brown's usually almost kind of double coverage. So, and it's a blessing to have Jameson Williamson coming on to Detroit and catching big catches and running his routes, and I think he broke one out last week for 41 yards. So it's a blessing to have him there. It's also a blessing to have Brooke Wright, the other tight end. When Laporta, I still think Laporta's a little hurt. He didn't seem hurt last week, but he's having his second year kind of a drought. Everyone's on him. Everyone's going to be focused on him. So do I feel that I would stay away from Laporta for yards, just because I don't know they're going. I just don't feel comfortable betting my money on him. He could score a touchdown, but I feel like you could go with Patrick for at least 21 yards. You could go at least St. Brown for about 50 yards again. Uh, Maybe a touchdown. You could go with Gibbs again. Gibbs a touchdown, and and St. Brown, or you could go with a 50 yards St. Brown, 50 yards Gibbs, 25 yards uh, 25 yards Montgomery. And now the reason why I say 25 yards, because there's been a couple times recently where he's been hurt and they put him out. I think it was against Arizona. And I was 1.5 yards away from my parlay. So remember that. Montgomery may not give you 60, 70 yards every week. But Gibbs will, even though Gibbs, last time that Montgomery was out in the second half, it kind of worked against Detroit to have Gibbs on the field too long. So I'm just making that point, that reference. So that's something to actually consider, to think about. But moving on, we could talk about a little bit about Michigan and Ohio State. Again, I'm gonna make it a little short and sweet. I don't think that Ryan Day or Chip Kelly's Ohio State, it's not the toughness of the team, it's the practical logic, the way that they lost the game, or the way that they played the whole game. It wasn't toughness, it was they were outsmarted by themselves. They thought by running the football and then passing the football in the fourth quarter would be the chemistry of the game, or the chemical reaction to the game. In reality, they outsmarted themselves by not staying with the passing game and then spreading Michigan out completely, this defense. So I would blame more on Ryan Day than Chip Kelly. I don't know why Ryan Day did not tell Chip Kelly to keep throwing the football. I think they just kind of shot themselves in the foot. But that is my take on Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packers game. Yes, one more note about Green Bay. Yes, you could have Josh Jacobs for at least 50 yards. I think he'll at least get 50 yards as well. So I don't see him. Well, if you want to play safe, you put $15. You go with Josh Jacobs 40 yards. You go with Gibbs with 40 or 50, depending on what you want to do. And then again, you go with a touchdown, Montgomery or Gibbs. Now, I don't know if Detroit will pass the ball Jared Goff will pass the ball to Jameson in the end zone, or to St. Brown and Laporta. That's something that you have to kind of really think about. But knowing that, and of course, I would go 35 points and up, or at least 35 points over under points, total points scored. So, yes, a little bit back and forth. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for watching it on my podcast. If anyone out there is trying to listen, trying to watch, you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on rss.com. You can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you can find your podcast. Even I have, you know what, I should shout out to this. Shout out to these other sources of where people listen to my podcast. But here we go. I'm on RSS. So I tell you what, I have Straightforward, and I have Spotify. I have Chrome. People have listened to me on Chrome, but Castbox as well. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Give me a thumbs up on YouTube. Thank you for following me. And peace, love, and go Detroit. And hopefully you get better soon, Mr. Decker. All right, I'm out.